The last time I reviewed a Paramount movie, they put a copyright claim on the video, despite the fact that all it was me talking over a few shots that were taken from the trailer. So this time around, it's going to be nothing but the poster and me talking about the movie. I'm genuinely curious to see if they try to claim this. Considering they claimed a video of a friend of mine sitting in his car talking about the movie, there's a high possibility they might. With that out of the way, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Out of the Shadows. This is the sequel to the 2014 Michael Bay produced Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Initially, I was worried about the first one because the trailer was awful, and it was under Platinum Dunes, which is Michael Bay's side production company that pretty much does nothing but remakes of classic franchises. They did Nightmare on Elm Street, and Friday the 13th, and Halloween, and The Hitcher, and all of them were awful. They all sucked. Probably the best of the bunch was the Friday the 13th remake, reboot, and even that was pretty terrible. So when it was announced they got the rights to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle franchise, I was pretty upset because I am a huge TMNT fan. I like all of the movies to a certain degree. The first one is, in my opinion, the best. I do enjoy the second one. The third one, it has its moments, but it's kind of shaky. I really like the 2007 TMNT CG animated film. I thought that was great and did not get nearly the love that it deserved. And I kind of wish that they would have been able to continue with that. But that didn't happen, and here we are. The 2014 one was better than I expected. It wasn't particularly good, but it did have a lot of things that I liked about the Turtles. It had their sense of humor, and it just kind of felt like they were on the right track, but they did some stuff that just didn't work. It still felt too much like a Michael Bay movie. Even though Bay only produced it, he didn't direct it. It just had that look of his. It looked like a Transformers movie, only instead of being robots, it was Ninja Turtles. The other thing was, the first movie was more of an April O'Neil movie. They were following her. She was the focal point of the film, and the Turtles kind of showed up every now and then, and it really wasn't particularly a TMNT movie. It was April O'Neil and kind of the Turtles. So I didn't hate the first one. I just was kind of on it. After seeing the trailer for Out of the Shadows, I got a little excited because it looked like they were addressing some of the issues that people had with the first one and were making the movie a little bit more fun. To a certain degree, it was a few steps forward, and then it was a few steps back. First of all, the good stuff. The humor in this was good. I thought that there was a good bit of interaction between the Turtles. They were very funny, and a lot of their lines and pop culture stuff, it worked. It felt right. The other thing is, this absolutely was a TMNT movie. They were the focal point this time around. April was there, but it was a good reversal from the last one, whereas the first one, it was April, and then the Turtles showed up every now and then. In this one, it started right out of the gate. It was the Turtles, and then April kind of showed up every now and then. They did a lot more fan service this time around. They put in Baxter Stockman, they had more time with Shredder, they had Krang, they had Bebop and Rocksteady, so it definitely felt like they were trying to appeal more to the old school fans instead of making it something different entirely. Bebop and Rocksteady were good. I liked the way that their characters looked. They did a good job of emulating them. And they were in the movie a lot more than I expected. They were pretty funny. The dumb stuff that they did worked. They were good. They were one of the highlights. Oh, another bit of fan service. Kevin Eastman is a pizza delivery guy in this, so I thought that was great. That made me smile. The bad stuff, and this is kind of what derailed the movie, I thought that even though the first movie felt more like a Bay flick, and this had a similar look to the first one, but it didn't feel like it was shot quite as well. I thought the directing in this was just very weak. The few action sequences that we did get were filmed a little too close. It wasn't shaky cam, but it was just, they got in too close to the action, and then there was a ton of quick cuts. It just never really flowed quite as well as it should have. Which leads me into what I had just mentioned. There wasn't a particularly large amount of fighting in this one. In the first one, even though the Turtles weren't around quite as much, when they were around, there was some action going on. They were doing martial arts and kicking some ass, and in this one, it seemed like they were more focused on doing other things. There was a lot of scenes of them skydiving, there was a lot of scenes of them riding through the sewers. It just wasn't quite as much action this time around. Especially the ending. The ending was supposed to be this big apocalyptic fight, and it, I think, was like 10 minutes. And that's 10 minutes while other stuff was going on. It just didn't really feel like the big ending that it should have. Like the first movie, the villain didn't show up for very long. You had Shredder in the very beginning, and then a little bit in the middle, and then you had him there for the big ending. And this, you had Krang in the very beginning, and then you didn't see him for the rest of the movie. And then finally at the end sequence, he's there, and it was cool. I thought that he looked great, but he didn't really do much. And this is also a little bit nitpicky. I wasn't particularly crazy about the voice they had chosen for him. Apparently it was Brad Garrett. It might be my nostalgia of hearing him from the cartoon. I liked the lines that they gave him. I thought that he was a complete smartass. I kind of dug that, but I didn't, I don't know. I just wasn't feeling the voice that they got for him. Overall, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows was better than the first one. It just wasn't directed as good as the first one, if that makes sense. There was a lot more fun, there was a lot more humor, there was just not as much fighting as they probably could have put in a movie that has ninja in the title. This one, it felt like they had their heart in the right place, but the spastic editing and the very anticlimactic final fight just left a lot to be desired. If you genuinely like the first one, you'll probably really love this one. For me, the first one was mediocre, and this one, it was okay.